Live from RFD TV studio in Nashville, Tennessee, this is the
Musical
2021
ended.
Agronothon, sponsored by DEKALB, Asgrow, and Deltapine brands. For the next 2 hours, America's farmers are invited to ask the questions that will help them succeed this season. Plus, for every call our technical agronomists receive, $100 goes towards scholarships for the next generation of agronomy students. Tonight, besides answering your questions live, we'll hear world-class agronomic advice and management best practices from leading experts. We'll talk about the future of agronomy with FFA Foundation President Molly Ball. We'll even go one-on-one with the Deputy Director of the NASA Harvest Mission, Dr. Alyssa Whitcraft. All that, plus comedian Denis Grignon, musical guest Matt Roy, and NASCAR's Chase Briscoe. So grab your smartphone and get ready to get smarter about the 2021 season. It's time for the Agronothon with your host, Max Armstrong.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the very first national telethon devoted to the science of agronomy and the very talented men and women who bring that science to life. It's the 2021 Agronomy Week Agronothon. Indeed, I'm Max Armstrong, privileged to be with you for the next couple of hours here, as we'll visit with some agronomic experts who will be taking your calls. Now, write this number down so you'll have it handy over the next couple of hours, 833-305-1721. We'll give that to you again. It'll be on the screen throughout the broadcast. Once you get into that number, you'll press *3 after you are connected. We'll sure welcome your calls, and we look forward to hearing from you wherever you are in America. With planting just around the corner, we know you have questions on your mind, and tonight we're going to answer as many of them as possible. When you call 1-833-305-1721. And remember this, keep this in mind over the next couple of hours. You won't just be asking a question that'll help you succeed this growing season. You'll also be raising funds to educate our next generation of agronomists, because as an added bonus, for every call we receive, $100 will go towards scholarships from the FFA organization. Now, remember, your questions can be about anything agronomic on your farm. You can ask about fertility ratios, pest management strategies, fighting disease, you name it. So make sure your phone is handy right there with the recliner, and get ready to call that number that'll be on your screen for the next 2 hours, 1-833-305-1721. Now, in addition to answering some of your questions live tonight, we're going to carry on the Agronomy Week tradition of celebrating agronomy all right and all of its awesomeness, which means we're also going to have more than our fair share of fun and games, and maybe even a few surprises for you, as we've got all kinds of special guests lined up over the next couple of hours, including Nashville singer-songwriter Matt Roy, comedian Denis Grignon from Canada, and NASCAR driver Chase Briscoe, the new driver of that number 14 DEKALB Ford Mustang. Plus some special features that you won't want to miss. It'll all be happening here over the next 2 hours on the Agronothon. So get ready to stay up a little bit past your normal Thursday night bedtime. You can catch up tomorrow sometime. To get tonight's show started, we welcome two technical agronomists who are very well versed in a variety of topics related to planning for the season ahead and planting. And we know we've been hearing a number of questions coming in from growers. We encourage your questions over the next couple of hours, but please welcome our technical agronomists joining us here this evening, Josh Rupard and Wes Rodgers. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, Max. Thanks.
Well, planting is underway, or it very soon will be. I think about half the corn crop has been planted in Texas now. A lot of growers are sitting there ready to roll. I noticed many in the heart of the Corn Belt started turning some wheels in the past week or so. Let's talk about that planting time, that critical decision, getting into the field for corn, soybeans, or cotton. What are some of the considerations?
I usually try to, instead necessarily look at the calendar, look more at your soil temperatures. We want the conditions to be right because we want to plant it once and be able to move on. We like to have adequate moisture, look at the long-range forecast, make sure we're kind of past the cold freezing part and moving towards the warm to help get that crop up and running. Some of those soil temps in the northern part of the country are still pretty low, remarkably chilly, aren't they?
Yeah, like Josh said, ideal is not something we've seen in the last few years, and we sure would anticipate a normal planting season, for once. But, like Josh said, soil temperatures are really the big thing. We like 50 degrees and warming with a good 2 to 5 day window for corn. 60s for the soybeans and close as 80s you can get for cotton.
A lot of folks are raring to go. They know that window of opportunity of planting can be so narrow sometimes, and many growers now are looking at planting soybeans early. They were able to get some results. They've seen what can happen by getting beans in the ground early. And yet I talked to a friend of mine the other day. He said some of the best soybeans he had last year were the last ones planted. What are the benefits and potential risks of planting beans early?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest benefits for us, and especially where my territory is in West Tennessee, is just the window of opportunity. We're planting group 4.5 to 4.9 maturity soybeans, and that's we're the 1st of April, and that's opening our window much wider throughout the summer. So that's giving us the potential for more nodes. We're seeing 22, 23 nodes, where in the past we've only seen 16 or 17. So
wow. What a difference that makes at the end of the day in that bean yield, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
There are a lot of different choices for soybean weed management. And what are some of the factors that a grower should be considering in this decision that he or she must make?
The main thing I see is scouting your field ahead of time, knowing what's out there, knowing the history of that field, whether there's resistant weeds if you have them, being able to take the proper management guide to know to overlay in your residuals, knowing what chemicals you can use, different classifications in order to get a control on those resistant weeds early.
They've gotten pretty nasty, haven't they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Pre-emergent herbicides are as important as ever. The resistant species that Josh mentioned, they're growing every day, and the best bet you can do is keep them from coming up, so that reduces your growing points that you've got to manage in season.
Sure. Nip them in the butt.
Sure.
Don't give them a chance. What about planting populations, seed population on the farm? How does that decision affected by the planting conditions out in the field? Do you vary that seed population?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go along with seed population, and really that's a farmer by farmer decision and a field by field decision, and becoming more we're farming the acre, not the farm. So look at your hybrid, look at your soil types, look at your drainage, and your field history is probably one of the most important things you can consider when determining your population.
You have a lot of cotton in your territory you serve, don't you?
Sure do.
As a matter of fact, Wes.
Yeah.
What about nematode pressure? How do you approach that in cotton fields where there is that history?
Back in the day, I think the biggest thing for nematode pressure was tillage. We've gotten away from a lot of tillage. We're mostly no-till nowadays. So really the number one thing you can do is try to find a resistant variety. And in the Deltapine brand, we're continuing to bring new resistant varieties for nematodes. And then you can always add a great nematicide to that as well.
There's some cotton over your way, too, if I'm not mistaken, as a matter of fact, Josh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, a lot like what Wes just said, using nematicide where you can, using a nematode-resistant variety when you can. That's kind of the biggest ways we combat it in our area.
That decision to replant, that can be an agonizing choice to make. You look out there and you say, all right, what am I going to do here? It doesn't look good at this point of the game. What's it going to look like as we go on through the growing season? It hasn't had a great start. What are the considerations that come into that replant choice to maybe take a little emotion out of it? Is that possible, Josh?
It is. Some replant decisions are easy. There's just not enough there. It's time to replant. Some sit right on that border, and I've always kind of used a guide as far as where we're at in the calendar year. If we're early on in the planting season, it's probably best to go ahead and replant if there's a question and get a full stand out there. If we're late in the season where it's questionable with moisture whether we would get a full stand, it's one of those that maybe we keep a partial stand because we've at least got something to work off of. But it's sort of a grower by grower, field by field situation.
Anything you'd add to that, Wes?
Yeah, I'd say there's really three things. Do I spot it in? Do I keep it? Or do I terminate and redo? That's what we look for most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, many of our growers will be faced with that challenge. That's always the case during the growing season, the early stages, planting. You get one chance at that to really get it off to a good start usually. I want to repeat the phone number for anybody who might have just tuned in, because that number, you see it right there on the screen, 833-305-1721 for your questions with our agronomist here live on the first ever Agronothon. And you can call in, and once you get into that number and you get an answer from the number, hit *3 to make the connection to be able to ask your question. We've had some coming in through social media also in the past few minutes. I notice, let me ask one from, I believe this came in from Ethan in Tennessee. What are some key differences between Acceleron Basic and Acceleron Elite, the offering in the current DEKALB lineup, and how do they impact my early stand establishment?
So probably the major difference between those two products is that that Elite has a premium insecticide. So if you have, like I say, West Tennessee, if you're in a no-till situation, cover crops where you have more pests, it's probably the best to go with that Elite. It also has a nematicide in that as well. So if you think you don't have nematode pressure in corn, you're wrong, because they're out there.
Very good. We have a call right now on the line. Debbie, I believe in North Carolina. Where are you in the state of North Carolina, Debbie? Welcome to our first ever Agronothon, and you are the first caller. Are you there, Debbie? Here was her big opportunity. This was her opportunity. We're not being able to make the connection. We'll try one more time. Debbie, are you there? Well, apparently, we're not able to connect. Hang on. Maybe if we connect with her in the next few minutes, we can get back to that call to see where she is. That's a great agriculture state. From one side to the other, there's a lot of difference when you go from over in the mountains, over around Boone County, over to the coast in that Blackland area of North Carolina, where planting is underway. I saw some cab shots the other day from Delbert Armstrong Jr. in that Blackland region. He was planting the last couple of days there, trying to get that crop in the ground. Those guys are in an area where they have to worry about hurricanes on the tail end of the season.
Absolutely.
So they'll try to get in there and plant as early as they can and try to get things going. Another question that came in here. Let's see. This is from Jacob. Another question from Tennessee. For multi-hybrid planters, what characteristics do agronomists look at placing the correct hybrid on the correct acre?
Yeah, we do this a lot in Tennessee. I'm not so sure that we're to the point of multi-hybrid for variable rate, but we do split a lot of planters, companion plant, and probably the biggest thing I look at is spreading my maturity out. I like to plant 113-day with 115-day to hit two different rain windows if possible. Something else I look for is kind of an offensive, defensive. I like a corn that if it rains, it could hit a mark, or if it doesn't rain, we could play some defense.
There you go. Spread your risk a little bit.
Absolutely, spread your risk. That's what it's all about.
And in case you just tuned in, let me give you the number once more. Maybe we can connect with Debbie yet in North Carolina. But here's that telephone number on your screen, 1-833-305-1721. And when you make the connection, *3. And once again, let me emphasize the fact that when you get through with your question, you can also then you can help make possible a contribution of $100 to the FFA for Agronomic Scholarships. Let's go to the prairie state of Illinois. Julia, are you there with us? Julia.
Hey, Max, I'm here. It's Julia.
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. This is such a great cause. This is such a great thing you guys are doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. What part of Illinois are you in?
Central Illinois.
Great abundant crop producing area. I've seen a few pictures that some planters were rolling, some early beans going in around Lincoln, Springfield, Bloomington area in the past few days. What's your question for the agronomist?
You certainly got it right. Yeah, there are some guys planting out there already, some early guys. And I actually had a question about weed control.
Go right ahead.
And based on conditions so far, what do you guys think that we need to think about when it comes to preparing for upcoming potential weed pressure based on the year so far?
I think, excuse me, knowing the field history that you have on your farm, the major weeds you normally have to deal with on a yearly basis, knowing if you have resistant weeds, and trying to get ahead of those, overlaying residuals is, I think, probably the most important thing we can do to help. If we keep them from ever coming up, we've won the battle there. That's kind of the biggest thing I look at.
Yeah, go ahead, Wes.
I would add to that. Josh said overlapping residuals. With those overlapping residuals, you've got to change up your modes of action. So you got to use multiple modes to further negate the resistant species. So throw a PPO out there, group 15 chlorocetamide, whatever you can do to stay on top of them.
All right, thank you, Wes. Josh, Julia, thanks for calling in. Have a safe growing season ahead. We're going to switch things up a little bit now because we're going to hear from a farmer who just happens to also be a stand-up comedian. In his spare time, he's also an award-winning journalist and a regular on iHeartRadio. All the way from Ontario, Canada, we welcome to the broadcast this evening, Denis Grignon.
Hey, thanks, Nashville, and thanks to RFD TV as well. Thanks to everybody involved in this Agronothon. You're doing great things here, raising money for a great cause, education in farming through the FFA. And thank you so much for inviting me out to be a part of this. This is a real personal thrill because I get to combine my two loves, my two passions, stand-up comedy and farming. Now, if you're wondering, okay, how well are those two going to combine? Well, let me just assure you that I am outstanding in my field. Huh? Okay, I admit that's a little bit corny. It will get better because I've been doing comedy now for a long time. And I always make sure that I research my shows beforehand. In fact, it took me a couple of cracks, but I finally did manage to learn the correct pronunciation of the word agronomy. There we go, I knew I had agronomy as opposed to agronomy. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was agronomy, but agronomy sounds a little too much like a dating app for farmers, doesn't it? If you like long walks out in the sunshine from the silage fermenter out to the cattle pasture while calculating pickup truck payments dependent on that year's crop yield, meet me at the sale barn on Saturday. I'll be wearing a John Deere cap and a red flannel plaid shirt. And that's how I text, by the way. But I have a really old phone, so when I get to the end of a sentence, I have to do this. Bing! If you didn't understand that joke, find somebody who's over 40 to explain it to you. Got to tell you, it's a real joy to performing outdoors because having performed in comedy clubs for so many years, I always end up in a club with a ceiling that's too low. Not a problem here. And I'm a tall guy. I'm like 6'5". And for anybody who's over 6 feet, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's all the stereotypes that come with being that tall. All the questions, I've heard them all before. I remember it started in high school. Hey, fella, you're really tall. I bet you must be a great basketball player. I never understood that logic. I never applied that thinking to the people I knew in my high school. I never once came up to my woodshop teacher. Hey, Mr. O'Brien, you only got 3 fingers. Well, you must be a great bowler. So yes, fairly new to farming, well, 25 years or so, but I was in my 30s when I came to it, and it was my wife's family farm, cow-calf operation, and a farrow-to-finish operation. So the 2 first jobs I had to do on the farm, job 1 was dehorn cattle. Job 2, castrate pigs. Job 1, dehorn cattle. Job 2, castrate pigs. Job 2 bothered me a lot more than job 1 because I don't have horns. You're probably doing the math on that joke yourself. I've always wondered what it would be like to explain to an old-time farmer the concept of a fitness club. So let me see if I understand this correctly there, young whippersnapper. You're telling me that what you do is you put on these tight rubber pants, these exercise pants that are so tight they make it look like you're trying to smuggle avocados across the border, and then you drive into town, you go into this building where you hop on a bicycle that's bolted to the floor, and you're pedaling really hard, and then you get off that, and then you run on this conveyor belt faster than a squirrel who's just had 3 or 4 Red Bulls, and then you get off of that, and then you lift a whole bunch of things that are heavy until you're hurting and in pain, and you're sweating, and you do that for free. Oh, I'm sorry, you pay them to do that. Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to lose you on the jargon or nothing, but people like you, we have an expression for people like you back on the farm. We say that you have manure for brains. But you know what? I like you. We're baling hay all weekend, so why don't you come back with me to the farm? I'll let you work all afternoon with us. I won't charge you a darn penny. It's nice to see that you're raising money for education in farming through the FFA, because farming demands so much now, not just working hard, but you have to have knowledge, you have to have expertise, you have to know about business, you have to know about science, you have to know about math. Those are the 3 things. I didn't know anything about that when I was in high school. I mean, I was terrible up until 11th grade. I thought a protractor was someone who supported farm machinery. Okay, some of you are doing the math on that joke now, and that's okay. We'll check in with you in a little while. Okay, let's keep those phones ringing. Let's raise some more money. All right, I'll catch up with you in a few minutes. I got some chores to do.
protractor. Yeah, that is an old joke, as a matter of fact. I guess when you're on the farm, the cows can't throw rotten tomatoes at you, right? Denis will be back in just a few minutes here with us on our special Agronothon broadcast. But coming up, we're going to take a quick break right after a segment in which some of America's agronomists set their record straight about the number one question they get asked the most, and one that they should be asked.
Well, I think one of the big ones that tends to show up is in the springtime. We're trying to address sulfur needs. We've had a lack of acid rain, which is good, but that brings less sulfur, and the corn obviously needs sulfur, and we see some sulfur deficits. So I think we're trying to put a little too much thiazole on in a lot of cases, and that thiazole is a great cheap source of sulfur, but it also brings a really high salt content. And we seem to see a lot of where we're getting into that 2 to 3 gallon range in our of thiazole in our coarser soils here, where we see some salt injury to the corn, which would show up as reddish, stunted roots, white plants, things like that, emergence issues. So I think that's probably one of the biggest ones that I tend to see in the springtime, where we've got good intentions and make that mistake.
Have you guys heard about the magic tractor? It turned into a field.
I may need to hear that a second time. Maybe once was enough. Welcome back to the Agronothon, everyone. The culmination of an entire week dedicated to the hard-working individuals without whom farming would be much more difficult. I call them some of the unsung heroes of agriculture, our nation's agronomists. And tonight, our experts are here fielding whatever agronomic questions that you need answers to, as a matter of fact. And you simply call this number on the screen. You have the agronomic advice right here at hand, 1-833-305-1721. And then when you connect, hit *3. And for every call we receive, here's the added bonus. We will donate another $100. That is, the DEKALB, Asgrow, Deltapine brands will donate another $100 to an FFA Scholarship that'll provide much-needed assistance to our next generation of agronomists. We'll check back in with the call center shortly to see how we're getting along. While they're taking your calls, let's spend a minute with a technical agronomist, Jessica Herdes, and catch a glimpse of what makes her job such a labor of love.
My name is Jessica Herdes. I'm a technical agronomist, and this is why I science. So as I think about science, it's had an impact on me both from a career perspective and also in a personal life. So being a type 1 diabetic, the technology needed for the insulin pump that I use today, the insulin itself that helps regulate my blood sugars, the quality of life is unreal. So just the impact there. And then as we think about the challenges we have in agriculture, we wouldn't be able to develop the products that can help fight some of those challenges if it wasn't for science and research and some of those, just focuses in regards to addressing the problems we have. It's pretty cool how much of an impact both me personally and professionally science has every day. As a technical agronomist, I really get to have a lot of fun being sort of a bridge between our technology, our science-based research, and really delivering that solution to a farm. So a great opportunity with my job is really sharing in successes with farmers and seeing how their eyes light up whenever we can deliver a new solution that really works in their operation. Seeing that excitement is extremely rewarding for me as his agronomist. So why do I science? It's because of research, proven results, and the output that comes to help us have a better life, not only from a lifestyle perspective, but also as an agronomist in the field, how we have better products. If it weren't for science, we wouldn't have the technology advancements that we have today.
Oh, it's great to hear Jessica's story. Thanks for sharing with us, Jessica. We appreciate it. Definitely passionate about your career and serving producers. And it's easy to see how no 2 days are the same in your profession. Well, at this point of the Agronothon, we're trying to get, over the next few minutes, 15 calls. 15 calls in the next 15 minutes. So it's a perfect time to pick up the phone and give us a call to ask your agronomic question at 1-833-305-1721. And remember this, Your call will make more than just a difference in how you approach the upcoming season. Your call means another $100 in FFA Scholarship funding. Well, let's now welcome back our technical agronomist, Wes Rodgers and Josh Rupard, here in the studio with us this evening. Gentlemen, great to have you here. Nice to have the expertise at hand. We have a call coming in. I believe Kristen is in Wisconsin, in America's Dairyland. Kristen, go right ahead. You're on with the experts. Are you there?
I was wondering, what are some good options for a second pass on conventional corn? We plant some conventional corn, and I'd just like to hear what you guys think, if there's some good products that work out there.
Great question.
Yeah, Christian, I would just kind of throw in a guess out there on a conventional corn. I would consider an HPPD as far as a herbicide to take care of that. But laying down a Group 15 chlorocetamide like Warrant herbicide would be a great option as far as a residual that would go great post over the top.
Josh, anything you want to add to that?
I think Wes pretty much covered
the waterfront there, huh? We'll welcome some more calls here over the next few minutes. If you want to give us a call on RFD TV, the first ever Agronothon. Let's go to Louisiana. I believe it's Paul standing by with a question now. Are you there, Paul?
A residual that would go post over the top.
We might have a little bit of an echo problem. I might need you to turn the TV down. Sometimes that there's a little bit of a delay that can be a challenge. Let's give it another try there. Are you there, Paul?
Let's go to Louisiana.
Well, I think we're getting confused with a satellite delay. That can happen there sometimes. I did get another question in just a few minutes ago that came in to me from Jake in Michigan. Well, hey, here's an excellent opportunity for you. How does your seed compare to other seed brands?
Oh.
Jump on that one, Josh.
I feel like it's the best, but no, I feel like it's compares very well to other brands. I feel like from our lineup top to bottom, all three crops, that there's not an acre we can't cover and do an excellent job on.
Anything you want to add to that, Wes?
I agree. When we get that question from growers, we have a very hard time picking which product to go because they're all really great.
Very good. If you just tuned in, you're watching the Agronothon on RFD TV, the first ever. There's never been one before. But this is the fifth, I believe it's the fifth Agronomy Week observance that has been held, paying tribute to the men and women who work with farmers the year round, and especially this time of the year coming into the growing season, the agronomists out there. And we've tied in a connection with FFA in this broadcast this evening to allow you to help contribute. A little bit later, I'll give you more information in addition to, you can go to the website to contribute to, but if you call in with your agronomic question, as the folks have over the past few minutes, when you ask that question, the DEKALB, Asgrow, Deltapine brands will contribute $100 to the FFA Foundation to bring along that next generation of agronomists. And that's one thing FFA does so well. Preparing young men and women for careers, not just in agriculture, preparing them for leadership in a wide variety of fields. So that's something to keep in mind. You get to help FFA at the same time. Here's another question that came in. We're getting some through social media. Vic in Ohio. Okay. I took soil samples to my local elevator to have sent off and tested. How close should I follow the elevator's recommendations for fertilizer? It seems to me they may be adding a little extra.
I'll take that. Vic, I would recommend two things. Number one, I would send my sample off to multiple sources. It's always good to have multiple opinions from experts, and then you take those opinions and you make, you make your decision. So the other thing I would say is, it may look a little high, but they're probably, adding in a maintenance. They don't want you to have just enough fertility for that corn crop to use or bean crop to use. They want you to have some there for next year so that you don't have to go out with so much the following year.
That's a good point.
Yeah, to echo what Wes said, it never hurts to send it to two different sources to have it analyzed. If you come back with the same numbers from both or relatively the same, it usually, I would go with it as much as you possibly can. If you don't feed the crop, it's never going to make what you want.
Great point, Josh. Wes, thank you. We'll be back to you. Don't go away. Stay put right where you are. We're going to rely upon your expertise more. And we just can't thank you folks enough for all of the calls coming into the call center. After all, tonight it's about helping you producers, all right, and the questions you have, but at the same time helping FFA. So we appreciate that so much and appreciate your joining us on RFD TV. Keep those calls coming in. And while you do, it's time to bring out our next very talented special guest, BMG music artist Matt Roy. Now, don't let this young man's age fool you. He's already written a bunch of songs with top country artists, Kane Brown, Chris Jansen, Colt Ford, Adam Doliak. He's cracked into Music Row's top 100 songwriters of last year, and he's taking time out of his busy schedule to join us right here in the studio in Nashville to perform live. We welcome singer-songwriter Matt Roy.
Thank you all very much for having me, first of all, and I wanted to say that I'm really excited to be here in support of the future of agronomy. This first one I'm going to play for y'all is a song that I helped write that an artist named Chris Jansen recorded, and it was a #1 on country radio. It's called Done. It goes like this. Done. The first time I saw you, done. By the first dance was through, I was done. One kiss and I knew there's nothing that I wouldn't do just to give you that house on a hill with that full plank around it. Every last breath till the last star is counted. Just say the word, girl, paint me all perfect. I won't quit till the good Lord says my work is done. Like a faded out song on the radio. Done. Like the cowboy gets the girl when the credits roll. I give you a lifetime of days in the sun. Whatever you need and you want, I won't stop till it's done. Done. All the hell I was raising, done. My careless heartbreaking, done. For the risk that you're taking, I spend all my nights praying and all my days chasing that house on a hill with that full plank around it. Every last breath till the last star is counted. Just say the word, girl, paint me all perfect. I won't quit till the good Lord says my work is done. Like a faded out song on the radio. Done. Like the cowboy gets the girl when the credits roll. I give you a lifetime of days in the sun. Whatever you need and you want, I won't stop till it's done. You need a man you can lean on, done. You need some faith you can hang your dreams on. Check them off one by one. In that house on a hill with the full plank around it. Every last breath till the last star is counted. Just say the word, girl, paint me all perfect. I won't quit till the good Lord says my work here is done. Like a faded out song on the radio. Done. Like the cowboy gets the girl when the credits roll. I give you a lifetime of days in the sun. Whatever you need and you want, I won't stop till it's done. Oh, done. The first time I saw you, done.
Oh, very nice, Matt. It's so great to hear you bring those words to life. We've heard that song so many times on the radio, and we'll always think of you in the future when we hear it. Don't go away, okay? Would you hang around? Because we want to bring you back over the next few minutes. No wonder Matt is on that list of up-and-coming Nashville songwriters. Great stuff. We have a very interesting three-part conversation we'll share with you this evening between FFA member Miriam Hoffman, she's one of the national officers of the organization, and the president of the FFA Foundation, Molly Ball. If you excuse the pun, these two cover a lot of ground that has to do with short-term and the longer-term future of what agronomy and agriculture look like for our next generation of agronomy professionals. Take a look.
Well, thank you so much to DEKALB, Asgrow, and Deltapine for hosting us on the first ever Agronothon here on RFD TV to celebrate the National FFA organization and especially to talk a little bit about what we do in terms of the foundation and to raise money this week for the National FFA Scholarship Program. I'm Miriam Hoffman, serving as the National FFA Eastern Region Vice President this year. I come from a small town in the north central part of Illinois, grew up on a diversified crop and livestock farm, studying agribusiness economics at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, but taking this gap year to serve the National FFA organization as an officer with my 5 teammates. So really excited to be here with a special guest as well, Miss Molly Ball.
Hi, Miriam. Good to see you, even though it's from a computer screen. I'm Molly Ball. I'm the National FFA Foundation President. And so what does that mean? I oversee all of the fundraising operations for the National FFA Foundation. My background is I'm a former FFA member from Michigan. I grew up on a small cash crop farm. We had soybeans and corn, and most of the time alfalfa because I had horses and animals to feed. So.
Well, it's great to be here to chat. And it sounds like you have a little bit of agronomy in your background too. And FFA has a bunch of different pathways that those of us members can follow, but agronomy is one that's important to us and certainly the highlight of this Agronothon. So can you share just a little bit about some of the opportunities that are available as FFA members in agronomy?
So much in a wide variety of agronomy, no matter where you live in the country. It's not just soybeans and corn. It can be canola, it can be sorghum, all sorts of things. And so we have the Agronomy Career Development event where students not only work as a team, but they work as individuals and they do project-based or test-based. And then they also have to answer questions in front of judges and that sort of thing. So it's very interactive and with a team and individually. We also have what's probably better known as our supervised agricultural experience. So each student in their freshman year will work along with their teacher and they have a project that they work on. It's part of our 3-component model. It's FFA, SAE, and agricultural education, and which makes up, and classroom instruction, which makes up our 3-component model. SAE is a huge part of that. And so a lot of students choose an SAE, like myself. My SAE I grew alfalfa for my horses. And so my SAE was all based on science, business, and the mixture of both. And so students when they get to be their senior year, they then give that application, their SAE application to the states, and the states award them their state degree, and then they can apply for their American degree after that. And so that's all based on their SAE. So there's the agronomy SAE, and then sometimes they get to the national or state level based upon the quality of SAE project. So that AgriScience Fair. AgriScience Fair is huge now for us. Agriculture is science in every shape and form. And so it's also a business, as I said before, and there's huge intersections there. So the AgriScience Fair, we have students that participate all the way from, middle school projects all the way to college level projects. And I tell you, some of them are master's level science thesis when I look at them. But AgriScience Fair is another great way for students to think about how agronomy is important in their projects in their classroom. Leadership events, we bring in leaders from the agronomy field that help talk to students about careers in agronomy, from being the scientists in the field to understanding as salespeople in the field under the auspice of agronomy. And of course, our corporate partners, particularly DEKALB, that have been with FFA for so long. As I said, the foundation has been around for about 75 years, and DEKALB has been with us for a very long time. I know they do a lot on the local level by bringing students in classrooms out to their test plots or having those students work in their test plots. And the students learn so much about agronomy, soil health, conservation, the whole piece.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely resonate with a lot of those different pieces. My interest in agronomy actually came about more as I was finishing out my high school FFA career. I remember in Intro to Ag class learning a little bit about soil science and going out into the soil pits. I competed in land use judging for a couple of years, wasn't very good at it. But I remembered some of those terms then when I had an internship last summer with the Soil Health Data Company. We were spending a lot of time out in the field, and my boss was teaching me about all the interactions between the plants and the soil, and that science became really fascinating to me. And so even though I'm studying agribusiness and economics right now, I still have that agronomy side interest. I go to a lot of different farmer field days. Now I watch a lot of virtual webinars and things like that in the
I think I caught you watching one the other day, didn't I?
I think you did.
I did. I said, "What are you watching, Miriam?" And she said, "I'm actually watching a webinar on soil health."
Yes.
So anyone watching out there, she's a great hire because she sits in for her fun time. She watches webinars on soil health.
Yeah, pretty much. And podcasts and newsletters and all that good stuff. But FFA is really where that passion for all the different pieces of agriculture came about for me, because even when I didn't realize when I was in that Intro to Ag class and competing in that land use judging contest, I didn't realize at the time how significant that was going to be for me. It's been a great experience to have started out in the jacket and then to have taken that time with the internship last summer and then to come back and be able to talk about it all year, really, as an officer.
And as you see on the screen, you can donate directly to FFA Scholarships. They're at ffa.org/DEKALB. I think, I don't know if Miriam mentioned it or not. She's from the town of Earlville, Illinois. Population 1,500, 1,700, something like that, about 70 miles southwest of Chicago. We'll continue with their conversation on the other side of our next visit to the call center. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a conversation with a scientist from NASA about agronomy in space.
One of the biggest mistakes that I see growers make is not checking their pH and determining that their pH is adequate for what they're trying to grow. Here where I am, generally about 9 out of 10 farmers don't have adequate pH for the soil type and for the crops that they're trying to grow.
Hey, Hannah, how do you get a farm girl to like you?
I don't know, Zach. How?
A tractor.
A tractor. Not even I've used that joke. Welcome back to the Agronothon. Wherever you are in America, we're glad you've tuned in to join us here. The first ever Agronothon on RFD TV. And you got to see a few minutes ago Miriam Hoffman and FFA Foundation President Molly Ball talking about the future of agronomy. And one topic they didn't get to involves a subject that sounds about as futuristic as it gets: agronomy in space. With NASA's recent Perseverance mission on Mars, not even a month old now, work is already underway to examine the soil and rock samples in what is a tiny step toward the discovery of life on the red planet. Of course, NASA uses terrestrial observation data to conduct a variety of studies right here on Earth. And here to discuss one of them via satellite with us live on RFD TV is Dr. Alyssa Whitcraft, who is a co-founder of the NASA Harvest Program. Dr. Whitcraft also directs the program's Sustainable and Regenerative Agriculture Initiative. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. It's good to have you with us this evening.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. This is such a cool event, and I'm really honored to take part in it.
We know you have a family background in viticulture. How has the management of agricultural and viticultural land changed since you were a much younger person?
I remember when I was a kid going out into the vineyards with my dad and taking sugar samples, especially as we were approaching harvest. And, you know, nowadays with the farming population in the U.S. sort of aging, there being fewer farmers about. I know farmers are managing farms that are nowhere near one another and having to kind of decide how are they going to make management decisions before they even load up their trucks and trailers to go do their work on the farm. And so they're increasingly relying on digital tools. The sort of Internet of Things is one of the buzzwords you may have heard, but it's satellite data. That's really where the NASA component comes in. NASA flies all these awesome satellites that image the Earth, but also incorporation of drones, in-field precision meters, all kinds of different stuff coming together. And it's all about kind of getting the information as soon as you can to make the very complicated job of being a farmer more practicable, especially for a kind of more and more complex agronomic system.
Alyssa, give us an overview of what the NASA Harvest Mission is all about. What is that? As it relates to farmers who are watching right now, kind of tie that in with what the producers do out on the land.
Yeah, that's a great question. So NASA Harvest is NASA's food security and agriculture program. So we utilize satellite data from all kinds of different space agencies around the world and private companies, together with lots of different information, including farmer expertise, to sort of empower better decisions from subfield level all the way to kind of the global trade, big food security and agricultural trade kind of picture. So our partners include farm organizations. We work closely with Illinois Corn Growers Association. And we kind of are increasingly working with companies who are trying to serve agronomic advice directly to farmers, exploring partnerships with the big names that will be, familiar to all of you, including those who are sponsoring this event today. And so we're really trying to take this complicated suite of information in this highly dynamic, both weather and kind of economic system we're living in, and helping farmers make decisions that can reduce risk and increase their economic and environmental resilience in the face of kind of a lot of challenges and change.
Dr. Whitcraft, we're spending quite a bit of time on this broadcast talking about that next generation coming along who'll be helping us produce our crops. By benefiting FFA in this broadcast, we're trying to foster that next generation. What advice do you have for them as a scientist interested in agriculture and making your livelihood that way in helping these folks get ready for their careers?
Well, I mean, you're probably surprised to be hearing from NASA about agriculture. NASA, you think, maybe think walking on the moon and going to Mars and Tang and cool things like that. I'm on the Earth observing side of NASA, trying to look at what we're doing on Earth to produce food. There are parts of NASA who are investigating how to grow food in space, how to grow food on the space station or even on Mars someday. And so I think what that really points to is the need to be creative and the need to kind of bring new perspectives and at the same time know that experience and learning from those who came before you is paramount. So by no means are we trying to replace or supplant the knowledge of agronomists and farmers. Absolutely not. We would be nothing without them. Our questions that we seek to answer are driven by the questions that they want support having answers to. And so the next generation, I would say, study a breadth of disciplines while you're at university, cultivate interests that are kind of broad, that help you see the whole system. Systems thinking is really huge. I'm a geographer, and we kind of thrive on whole systems thinking. And so, you have to think about not just your farm, but what's happening, the farms down the road, what's happening with your competitors internationally, what are the big trends in consumer habits, what are they really looking for? And those are sometimes sociological or political or anthropological or economic questions. And so pursuing some of those studies can only really enrich your ability to cultivate your farm successfully and have a successful business.
What great advice. Broaden your horizons, you're suggesting, I think, Dr. Whitcraft.
That's right. Yep.
We appreciate it. Great to have you on the broadcast with us. We sure value your counsel you've shared with us here. Not just younger folks who might be watching, but for some of the veteran producers, too. Good luck to you as you continue with your endeavors on behalf of NASA.
Thank you, and thank you for all that American food producers do. You guys are awesome, and we'd be lost without you.
Thank you. Dr. Alyssa Whitcraft from NASA joining us here this evening. Well, we may not have all the answers to what's going on Mars, but we still have some great answers here from our technical agronomist joining us on this first ever Agronothon, and the offer still stands, $100 going to an FFA scholarship for each of you who might be calling in. So with your technical question for the agronomist here, let's go to Kansas. Is it Doug there? Are you on the line with us, Doug? Go right ahead.
Yes. In your opinion, what is the best way to stop nematodes from causing yield damage in soybean fields?
There you go. What's the best way to stop nematodes from causing damage in beans?
The best way I've found over time is a nematode-resistant variety. Depending upon what maturity you're after, sometimes that's hard to come by. But a nematicide will help. But the real only way I've seen to counteract them is with a nematode-resistant variety.
All right, we have a call from Arkansas. This may be some guy you know. Is it Race or Rafe? Are you there? This might be one of your buddies, Josh. You never know. He may be trying to put you on the spot. Are you there,
Hi.
sir? Oh, go right ahead.
Yes. My name's Reese Rupard, and I want to ask my favorite agronomist, Josh Rupard, my dad, what is his favorite crop?
I thought I recognized that voice.
Is it Grace?
Reese.
Oh, Reese.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I could not hear well.
I can tell Reese is up way past her bedtime right now.
Watching Daddy on television.
That's right. That's right. My favorite crop, kind of like them all, but I do think cotton is the prettiest in the fall. It's hard to beat a field of white out there.
It is beautiful, isn't it? Reese, glad you tuned in to catch Daddy in action. Is he a good guy?
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Bye-bye, kiddo. Thank you. We have folks of all ages joining us here on RFD TV for the first ever Agronothon, and wrapping up Agronomy Week. As a matter of fact, tomorrow is the end of Agronomy Week. What a great way to do that. Let's go to the Show Me State of Missouri. Paul, are you there with us? You're their agronomic question this evening.
Yeah, Max, I'm here. How's everything there?
Real good. What part of Missouri are you in?
Just dead center, about 20 miles south of Interstate 70.
I was on I-70 the other day, as a matter of fact, in both Kansas and Missouri for a short period of time. Go ahead with your question.
All right, my question is, we raised quite a bit of soft red winter wheat here, and we're just now getting into the peaks stage 5. My question is, what fungicide should I be using with the longest window of application?
Great question.
You know, wheat is something I've spent a lot of time in, and really at Peaks 5, you need to be looking at SDHI modes of action. Those modes of action are going to give you the longest protection from things like septoria, also, as well as any of the rust as far as preventative action. But I also need to add something like propiconazole for some contact.
We've got a pretty good-looking wheat crop at the moment. I think better than half of it is rated in good to excellent condition across the country right now, and so it's going to be interesting to see how we make that race home. We've got some very cold temperatures in the forecast for some of wheat country over the next few days, but hopefully we'll get that crop to maturity. And we'll be taking some more questions here over the next few minutes on our first ever Agronothon. Write that number down, keep it handy so that you'll be able to call in a few minutes from now. And remember, when you call, there will be that contribution to an FFA scholarship. And at the same time, you can get your question answered by the agronomist standing by live in the studio as we pay tribute to the profession of agronomy with the first ever Agronothon and the history of agriculture here, and at the same time benefiting FFA. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So there's this cowboy, and he's got a dachshund dog. Do you know why? It's because somebody told him to get a long little doggy. That's fun. I don't care who you are.
Welcome back to the 2021 Agronothon here on RFD TV. We're an hour into this historic event, and we are off to a great start here. Let's see what's happening back at our call center right now. As you folks are calling in, and you're invited to call in with technical questions over the next few minutes. And as you do so, whenever there's a question that comes in, we will contribute $100 to the FFA Foundation, contributed by DEKALB, Asgrow, Deltapine brands, as those calls come in to the Agronomy Center too. And that can make a difference in helping shape the future of young people such as Miriam, who you saw on the screen a few minutes ago. She appeared there with Molly Ball, and they'll be back a little bit later. Thanks to all of the farmers across the country calling in. You're the ones making a difference with these FFA kids. And, you know, you start to, sometimes when you're an old guy, you start to think, oh boy, what's our future? What's this country coming to? And then you see young people in FFA, and it lights your fire again. You realize, all right, our future is in pretty good hands with them. Here's the number, again, 1-833-305-1721. And when you get in there, hit *3. And when you call, if you'd also like to make a donation to FFA, there's another way that you can do that. You can make a direct donation by visiting this website, ffa.org/DEKALB. And you can use your credit card there to make a contribution. You know, some of us, I guess at this point in our careers in agriculture and around agriculture, feel like we've been abundantly blessed as we look back at our time here. And, you know, it's a great thing to give back through FFA. It's a great way to leave a lasting legacy, if you will, in the future of agriculture, and FFA is a great outlet for doing that. Let's check back in now with FFA's Miriam Hoffman and her one-on-one conversation with FFA Foundation President Molly Ball.
So one of the things that transitioning from my high school FFA career, then moving on to college, one of the things that all my peers are facing is how do we
pay for it, right?
For college.
Yeah.
And I know I personally have been impacted by the National FFA Foundation Scholarship Program. So tell me a little bit more about some of the inner workings of that program.
I'm so glad you received a scholarship, Miriam, because I think it's so important, you know, as our students are thinking about where do I go? What do I do with my 2 or 4 year education? How do I afford it? And so I think, you know, beyond your local FFA chapter in terms of dollars, National FFA started a scholarship program years and years ago. And so we awarded over $2 million in scholarships last year. And I know that this program is specifically to raise money for our scholarship program. We award students, seniors in high school, scholarships. They can start applying, and we start opening it up in November. They start applying in January. We select very quickly, and we send that money to the universities or colleges or 2 year education institutions that those students receive the money. I know that education is always difficult to try to figure out how you're going to fund. And so hopefully National FFA, through these scholarship dollars, can help offset some of that burden for these students as they go into higher education. I remember talking to one of our sponsors years and years ago that we need more young people thinking about agronomy as a career field, and weed science and that sort of thing. How do we recruit weed scientists? And I think it all has to go back to, you know, dollars that we can help these students, you know, aspire to their dream of agri-science or being in the agricultural field. And we really need to ensure we've got the best and the brightest and the leaders, which are part of FFA, you know, to apply for those scholarships. And so the more money we can give away, the better off we are going to be to ensure the field of agriculture, agri-science, agronomy, weed science, all of it has the best and brightest students in it.
Yeah, I know I'm super grateful for that support. Scholarships are a big reason that I've been able to enjoy my college experience and be able to get involved in things outside of it and prepare for things like the national officer interview process.
Miriam, how did you go about looking for those scholarships at National FFA?
My ag teacher was very much a resource in that regard. She would send scholarships my way, and then just interacting with other FFA members from different chapters. A lot of times they'd send over opportunities, and just like doing a quick Google search a lot of times of like agricultural scholarships, because there's so many out there, and there's a lot that don't even get applied to. I know the National FFA Scholarship Program has a lot of applications, but there's a lot of scholarships available in agriculture.
And if there's viewers out there that want to have their children or grandchildren or friends and family apply for the scholarships, you can go to ffa.org and just type in the search engine scholarships, and it'll take you right directly to the page. It's very easy to apply for the scholarships that you can get communicated with very frequently. I know when you apply for some scholarships, you can send your application off and then it's in la-la land for a while. You don't know what happens. This is a very communicative system, so you kind of know where you're sitting in terms of your scholarship application.
So you mentioned that it's so important for us to have more young people going into careers in agriscience and agronomy. Can you talk a little bit about why that is so important right now?
Well, I mean, we've all heard about the need, by 2050, there's going to be 9 billion people in the world, and the need for more healthy food, but also conserving our soil and really thinking about sustainability, because we only have one earth, right, to grow this. And so I think we need to have more young people like yourself to think about agronomy and the sciences from a wide variety of aspects, again, from sales to being champions for soil health and being champions for agronomy and the sciences. We've got a lot of people to feed. And I think there's new and really neat, cool ways that we can feed people without using, our regenerative soil and water and that sort of thing, and conserving our resources, but only you guys are thinking about what that looks like. And so, it's really important that we have the best and the brightest going into this field so that we can feed more people in the future.
And then also looking forward to some of those innovations that are happening. It's really exciting to see what AI is going to look like in agriculture.
Yes.
Apply that to agronomy. And so a lot of the agronomy programs are really focusing on moving forward with this technology, with innovating with both things like AI and this technology, but also looking at how do we work with nature and how do we maximize that effect, which has been really cool to see.
Exactly. So tell me what it's like for a student that loves this world of agronomy, what it's like in college today, what you're experiencing, that sort of thing. What can students expect from an agronomy major?
Yeah, I've got a couple of really good friends that I go to school with at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale that are studying agronomy and soil, crop, and environmental management. And they always talk about how much they love being able to go out into the fields. Carbondale, we have a really great university farm. And so there's a lot of really hands-on learning that happens in those programs across the country. And that's definitely their favorite part when they talk about what they love about studying is that hands-on part. And then there's also sometimes kind of an economic focus on like how do we use this to increase profitability in our farm businesses, and a lot of my friends that are going into agronomy are looking at becoming crop advisors, working with farmers, but then also looking at potentially starting their own businesses and working in things like my boss last summer did with the soil health company. So there's a lot of different opportunities when studying agronomy. It's not always going to be going out and advising farmers, but there's a lot of different pieces to it.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome opportunities and internships.
Indeed, the discussion to be continued from Miriam and Molly. Quite a healthy shout out to the Salukis of Southern Illinois University there. I had the privilege of addressing a group from SIU back in the spring virtually from that great school. We'll have another installment coming up, their conversation about the FFA and the future of agronomy a little bit later on in the broadcast. I think we have another call for our technical agronomist here. Let's see if we have Paul from Louisiana on the line. Is that right, Paul? Are you there?
Yes, sir, Max, and thank you for taking my call. And I've watched just for the last several years just about everything you've done on RFD TV, and I thank you for what you've done for our farmers. And I wanted to talk with one of your agronomists about a nuisance grass that we have here in northwest Louisiana called nutgrass. And it may also be called nut sedge. But it has a hair-like root system under the ground, and it produces these nuts. And if you leave it alone, the next thing you know, you'll be overcome by it. And I just wondered if either one of your agronomists might know of a herbicide that will kill that root system without damaging other plants.
Great question, Paul. Thanks. Is that the same as yellow nut sedge?
That's pretty close, Max.
It could be the same. I don't know.
Okay.
There's a couple sedges. There's purple and yellow, Paul. And, I fought this weed for many years myself in turf and in agriculture. And your best bet, if you could go out there and do some tillage, that would probably, pull that root up. But I have had very good luck with a PPO called sulfentrazone. That's a really good herbicide to use, especially in soybeans at planting. And then a couple shots of glyphosate with low water volume over top should handle your problem.
Sulfentrazone and glyphosate. Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Paul, thanks for the call. We appreciate it, and we appreciate the fact you watch RFD TV. It means a lot to us. I'm hearing from the producer in the booth that we have just hit our goal from the last hour. We've doubled the funds raised for the Agronothon FFA Scholarship Fund to $5,000. $5,000.
Awesome.
Yeah, that calls for a shout out to all of our callers out there tonight, because you folks at home are the ones really making this happen. And wouldn't it be great? This is maybe a little pie in the sky, but no, not at all. Very realistic. Can we double that number one more time before we go off the air? Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can double that number over the next few minutes before we wrap it up this evening. Let's go to Kansas. Hannah, are you there with us?
Hi, I am.
It's great you're watching. We appreciate it. What's your question for our technical agronomists?
What are some of the best resources that you encourage your customers to use to help them learn more about managing resistant weeds?
Where do you turn? What are some of your best resources for managing weed resistance?
My peers. We've got a great team with Josh across the river and our team in the Boot Hill. You can always look to your peers. I would recommend not only them, but also your university extension. Those are always really good resources for me personally. The University of Tennessee has been awesome, as well as any other university in the Mid-South for advice.
University of Tennessee, you kind of gave them a little nudge there, didn't you?
Maybe.
Josh, you want to get in there with a little equal time?
Well, basically to echo what Wes said, the university system has been great to do a lot of the research on this, provide us with a lot of information. Crop consultants in your area are also an excellent source. Those guys and ladies deal with it on a daily basis, so they've got kind of the boots on the ground approach to really help you with knowledge from the field.
It's a good team available to lend a hand, by all means. Well, around the corner, we'll hear once more from Matt Roy. Plus, we'll meet the new driver of the number 14 DEKALB Ford Mustang. Chase Briscoe will be joining us. Right now, though, we're going to meet Randy McElroy in another segment from the series we call Why We Science.
Hi, my name is Randy McElroy. I'm a technology development representative. This is Why I Science. Looking back in time, I grew up in West Tennessee on a small family farm. We had cows, pigs, chicken, grew corn, soybeans, cotton. Since I was not able to grow up and become a farmer, one of the next best things to do is to work with farmers. They're great folks. And as we think of agriculture, it's always changing. There are always new challenges. There's always opportunities to learn. And the field is a phenomenal classroom. And when you think about corn is actually a very conversational plant. And it speaks a language through its physiology and phenotypic expression of how it grows and develops. And it's simply a matter of learning the language, learning to study a corn plant, thinking about it, what's it responding to, because those plants are responding to the inputs and to the environment in which it's being grown in. And that's simply a part of walking out there, taking the notes and enjoying the experience. Getting up in the morning, don't really need coffee. The exciting thing is get up, go walk the cornfield, talk with a farmer about what's going on in the cornfield, see a sunrise. Those are things that get me out of bed in the morning.
Great message from the team working with growers. We're about halfway through the 25-minute mark, and we've still got a ways to go to reach our goal of 25 calls. So keep those calls and questions coming up here over the next few minutes. Now, we're about to find out who really knows their bugs and their weeds and their diseases, because it's time for us to play a little game called The Pressure's On. Huh? Josh, you ready for this, pal?
I hope so.
Technical agronomist Josh Rupard here to see how he measures up. And we'll see how this game works. The pressure's on. Over the course of 60 seconds, we are going to show you 16 bugs, weeds, and diseases. And your job, if you so select to accept this assignment, is to identify as many of them as possible before the correct answer appears. The answer will appear on the screen, but you have to tell us what it is before that happens. Are you ready, pal?
I'm ready.
All right. And let's go. Let's see how you do when the pressure's on. All right.
And
wait a minute. What is that?
That's flat mold. I think these were the ones I was going to ask you.
I think we blew that quiz.
Yeah, that happens.
That's leaf spot, of course. I know that was tar spot. I bet that was tar spot. That's a fairly new one, isn't it?
That's
it's popping up in the Midwest.
Certain spots, more Midwest. We don't have a lot of it in the South. So that's one luckily we don't have to deal with all that much.
You were trying to spring that one on the host.
Yeah. You caught my surprise a little early there.
I just want to thank folks for making that not happen for me.
That's all right.
All right. Now, we'll make these pests appear for you. All right?
All right.
We ready to roll that? Are you ready? The pressure's really on. Go.
Anthracnose stalk rot.
Anthracnose stalk rot.
Black cutworm.
That varmint is the black cutworm.
Ooh, that would be a fall armyworm.
That happens to be a fall armyworm. What's this?
Sudden death syndrome.
Sudden death. SDS. Yep.
That is a thrip.
A thrip. Tobacco thrip.
Tobacco thrip. Southern rust.
Not just any rust. Southern rust.
That's right. That is a corn earworm.
Oh, looky there.
Ooh, that is a budworm. Oh, corn borer. You got me on that one. Gray leaf spot.
Gray leaf spot.
That is northern corn leaf blight.
Yield robbing northern corn leaf blight. What's this?
That is a southwestern corn borer.
A southwestern corn borer.
That is tobacco budworm. That would be a west cutworm, west bean cutworm.
Okay.
Goss's wilt.
What's that?
Goss's wilt.
There it is.
And that is a rootworm.
That is your basic rootworm. You only missed one.
That's not too bad.
That's not bad at all. And you spared the host here of having to go through. Are you going to? Are they going to make me try to identify?
I think it's worth a shot.
I don't know about that.
We get to put the pressure back on you now.
Well, we have to move on. The booth tells me we have to move on.
I understand.
Doggone it, I was prepared to step up and accept that challenge. I was going to identify everything that was there, but we can't do that. Well, if nothing else, it points out certainly that you folks watching out on the farm, you have a lot of knowledgeable people there working with you, and a lot of folks who can step up and lend a hand by all means. And you can benefit from having a good agronomist around by all means. So Josh, we appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Looks like we're up against another commercial break here on the broadcast. But before we cut away, take a look at some spectacular footage captured by what you might call one of our ace pilot crop guns, captured by Mr. Kevin Keller. And a lot of growers and agronomists certainly understand the need to adeptly maneuver that drone in the sky, as some of these images will attest. Take a look here. Well, evidently Kevin's camera work has been inspirational to yours truly, to feel the need for speed. But as you're about to see, not every drone pilot has what it takes to be considered a crop gun. Some drone pilots simply haven't earned their wings yet. Watch.
Hey Sawyer, what does the baby corn say to the mama corn? Here's popcorn.
Oh, excuse me, I got caught here. You can tell I kind of like that role I was playing there. I know, Tom Cruise, I'm not. As we mentioned at the top of the hour, it's time for the third and final installment of our conservation between national conversation. Well, I'm sure conservation does come up from time to time. Our National FFA Eastern Region Vice President Miriam Hoffman and the FFA Foundation President Molly Ball. Let's take a look.
As a junior at SIU, go Salukes, what can you offer students that are possibly juniors and seniors in high school in terms of, career path, career field?
I've received some really good advice that when it comes to pursuing a career path, pursuing a major in college, think about the things that fill your cup and that really inspire you and motivate you as a person, but then don't feel like you're locking yourself into just one narrow path. Like, I'm studying ag business economics because that's something that I can go just about anywhere with that degree. And a thing that I found is especially important to employers, and especially with kind of the way that the job market is turning, is caring a lot more about your passion and your skills than necessarily what that degree is in. And so if you're the kind of person that you show up on time, you put in extra effort, you don't just do the bare minimum, things like that go a really long way when it comes to being successful in college and then finding internships and a career path afterwards. So that's the biggest thing that has kind of helped me find some more peace in my college journey and remind myself that it's okay to not have it all figured out.
That's right. This is your last year in the blue jacket, right? And, you're going to be hanging it up. Not soon. We don't want to see you go. I mean, you just got elected, right? Not soon. But, what does that blue jacket mean to you?
Ultimately, it's this jacket and this organization has given me a place to become all that I'm meant to be. And this jacket is a place, every time I zip up this jacket, I know that I'm just automatically united to these currently over 760,000 other FFA members who have a deep passion for agriculture and leadership. So even after I take off this jacket, I know I'll take those lessons with me. I kind of think about it like FFA gives me tools for my toolbox. And then when I take off the jacket, then I can pick up that toolbox and I can go out and make a difference in the world. I know a lot of other FFA members also feel the same way about their jackets, and it's something that for some is a barrier to being able to participate because they might not be able to afford their own jacket. But FFA has a pretty cool program that helps empower students to be able to have their very own jacket. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So Give the Gift of Blue was started probably 6 or 7 years ago. By actually one of our own staff members. She was in the merchandising department, and she found that there was a lot of times when she was doing her work, there were a lot of kids or she was at the national convention fitting jackets on students. There was a lot of kids that couldn't afford their own jacket, or she noticed they had a different name on their jacket, or it was oversized or too short or something. And wanted to start a program where students could apply to have their own jacket, and we would find donors to give to the program. It's about 7 years old now, and I think we awarded our, how many awards, like 5,000th jacket last year. And so we've been able to give so many jackets to young people who have, just aspired to have their own, right? And so I think, when you have your own jacket, or any jacket to that matter, that when you zip it up and it fits you right, that you can do anything. You're invincible, right? And so we are so pleased to have a lot of our partners invest in this program. We have students that apply for a jacket, but also their teachers can apply. So they'll write on to us on behalf of a young person that may not have their own jacket, and then we can award it for free. So if anybody out there wants to give to the program, it's called Give the Gift of Blue, and you can give any monetary amount to the fund. And we, again, award jackets on a regular basis to students and chapters who perhaps need them. If anybody wants to give to FFA at any point in time, not during this, any point in time, Agronothon or any time of the year, you can go on www.ffa.org/give. And it takes you right to a website where you can give in honor of a teacher, in honor of a faculty member, or just give to the Leadership Fund, which the Leadership Fund funds everything at National FFA, from programs that are underfunded to scholarships. But there's also a button there that you can give to Give the Gift of Blue to, which helps students get jackets on their backs.
All right, well, this has been so much fun, Molly. Great to chat with you and catch up and share about the good work that FFA is doing. But I'm going to pass it over to another former FFA member, the host of this week's Agronothon, Mr. Max Armstrong.
Appreciate it so much, Miriam. You think about that organization and the kind of young people who are produced through the efforts of FFA, and Miriam is a perfect example. Remember her words. She said this just a few minutes ago. It's okay to not have it all figured out. And I think that's applicable not only to young people, but some of us a little more farther along in our years, too, I guess you would say. She's well on her way to, I think, accomplishing anything she sets her mind to, by all means. Just a quick reminder, the FFA Scholarship Fund receives another $100 every time you call. And you call this number with your question, whether your question goes live on the air or not. The DEKALB, Asgrow, Deltapine brands will contribute $100 to those FFA agronomy scholarships. It's 833-305-1721, and then you hit *3. 833-305-1721. Whether your question is on the air or not, you can make a contribution. And you could also go directly to FFA, to the website, ffa.org/DEKALB. And you can use your credit card to contribute an amount there. Well, there's more coming up here on our Agronothon broadcast, and we sure hope that the 2021 growing season is everything you hope for on your operation. And now let's head south. Let's go to, let's get this special message. We promised this a little bit earlier, this special treat. So we go to Ridgway, Virginia. Now, that may not be south for you. It may be north from where you're watching us this evening. But there's a very special message from Chase Briscoe. He's the driver of the DEKALB number 14 Ford Mustang. So let's hand it off right now to Chase.
Hi, I'm Chase Briscoe, driver number 14 DEKALB Ford Mustang. I hope you're enjoying Agronomy Week 2021 in the first ever Agronothon. I know there's a lot of questions flying around tonight, and I'd like to add one of my own. Who likes winning stuff? That's what I thought. That's why, in addition to putting $100 in the FFA Scholarship Fund, anyone who calls in with a question in the next 30 minutes will put their name in the hat to win a prize pack. Compliments of our friends at DEKALB, Asgrow, and Deltapine. There's nothing like the promise of a new season, and I wish you guys a lot of success in yours, and I'll see you at the finish line.
Very good, Chase. Thank you so much. We wish you well this weekend at Martinsville, by the way. And let's go back to the phone line. I think we have a call, I believe, from Montana. Paul, is that you in Big Sky Country here this evening?
Yeah, that's me.
Go right ahead. You're on the air on the Agronothon.
Okay. Okay, my question is, I've got a alfalfa field to plant, and the pH is kind of high. How can I lower my pH?
There you go. Alfalfa. Josh, Wes, you go first, Wes.
Alfalfa is not something that's probably in my Rolodex of things I mess with a lot, Max. But his question was specific to how do I get that pH change. So pull soil samples, Paul, and I recommend pulling those soil samples and figuring out which base is best to move your pH around.
Josh, anything to add to that?
No, I'm kind of like Wes. We don't have a lot of alfalfa in our area, but going with the soil samples and following those recommendations, and you should be able to get where you need to be.
It's getting a little late. We're getting into our final half hour of the Agronothon, but I think we have an update. Our call center has been pretty busy, but I tell you what, let's check and see exactly where we stand right now. And it appears to be, that's right, $7,500, $7,500 that has been raised during our broadcast this evening for the scholarships for FFA. So it looks like we're still about halfway from doubling our last goal. So let's get with it there. Call on in the next few minutes. Jason is calling in from Missouri. Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
Doing okay.
What's your question for the agronomists?
Yeah, looking at population estimates with today's genetics on corn, and that I've heard different estimates on population per thousand seeding rate or germination rate, I should say. What do you guys recommend for guidance on that?
We typically, as we plan our test plots throughout the year, our research plots and everything, we try to get them at varying seeding rates just so we can kind of learn certain hybrids respond well to increased seeding rates. Some of the more flexible ear hybrids, we can stay with lower seeding rates. For my area, we typically, on irrigated ground, typically go in that 32 to 34,000 seeds per acre. There's always, some will increase if it's a higher management situation, and some we may decrease if it's a lower management situation. So it's kind of, there's a lot of variables in there, but that's kind of the broad guidelines of it.
Thank you, Josh. We appreciate it. We have another call. I believe Teresa is joining us from Missouri. Hi, Teresa. How are you? Are you there with us? One more time. Going.
Hello?
Ah, just in time. Teresa, go right ahead with your question.
Well, thank you for being there. I really appreciate you taking my call. And yes, my question is just a quick question. Is hemp a good transition crop between seasons, between like soybean or corn?
Hemp, a good transition crop.
One thing hemp does provide is a lot of biomass. So, that's something that's going to get broken down into organic matter in the soil, and which is good for corn and soybeans. I'd just say the one thing to watch out with having hemp between corn and soybeans is your crop protection costs are probably going to increase the following year because there's going to be some weed control that you can't handle in hemp.
Good point. Well, at this point of the program, we're about to give all of you a glimpse of something the folks from Asgrow are super excited about. There's a brand new podcast coming along soon that's going to give, it'll give a lot of information. The folks at Asgrow are going to be sponsoring it. It's called The Next Bushel. And I believe we have a little bit of promotional video to give us an overview of just what that's going to be like. Let's take a look here.
In the last 30 years, no other crop in the world has seen more advancements or marked more milestones than the soybean. But for all the strides we've made and the record yields we've seen, there are more bushels out there waiting to be found.
I'm Clint Schaffer, and to me, soybeans aren't only a profession, they're a passion.
This growing season, join me as I meet and talk with expert growers, agronomists, researchers, and breeders looking for ways to get more performance from each and every soybean. We'll be testing the limits, exploring breakthroughs,
and doing everything we can to help you chase down the next bushel.
Are you watching for it? It's coming soon. You'll get information out there about the next bushel. Looks like it's sure going to be a winner, all right. And I can see why everyone's ready to get that podcast on the air soon. Well, Matt Roy is back in the studio, paying us another visit with another live performance. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Mr. Matt Roy.
Once again, I want to say thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be a part of such a great cause and event tonight. And this last song I'm going to play is a song that was released last year by an artist named Chris Young. And man, we wrote this song during the Nashville tornadoes, and it's been one of my favorite songs I've ever been a part of. It's called If That Ain't God, and it goes like this. I ain't never thought much of getting up, or the climb down the stairs to my coffee cup, or the good morning news in the background. till I heard somebody on it talking about a kid from our town, only 8 or 9, who took a punch from cancer. But he won that fight, he hit his first home run, first time at the plate. He pointed at the sky and it made me think, if that ain't God, if that ain't him, if that ain't the man upstairs somewhere looking down on us again, don't it make you wanna pray? Don't it make you wanna live? Oh, if that ain't God, if that ain't God, I don't know what is. I took a breath and I looked out the window pane at a sunrise man only he could paint. Got me thinking about all my crazy years and the miracles, y'all, that got me here. Make a grown man wanna cry happy tears. If that ain't God, if that ain't him, if that ain't the man upstairs somewhere looking down on us again, don't it make you wanna pray? Don't it make you wanna live? Oh, if that ain't God, if that ain't God, I don't know what is. A red sunset over blue water, every day you get with your son or your daughter. If you got a roof over your head, boots under your feet, somebody by your side that you see and say, if that ain't God, if that ain't him, if that ain't the man upstairs somewhere looking down on us again, well, don't it make you wanna pray? Don't it make you wanna live, live, live? Oh, if that ain't God, if that ain't God, I don't know what is. Oh, if that ain't God, if that ain't God, I don't know what is.
Mr. Matt Roy, thank you so much, sir. It's been a treat to have you join us here on the Agronothon. We wish you the best as you go forward with your career. Well, let's move on in our broadcast this evening, and we have a little more agronomic view here. There's another view coming up of one of our agronomists, and let's share that with you. I believe it's Rachel who's joining us right now. Let's take a look. Another Unfiltered with technical agronomist Rachel Willis.
Join us in celebrating your farm's agronomic support crew during National Agronomic... What'd you say it was?
Clara, can you say agronomy?
5. Take 5. Join us in celebrating your farm's agronomic support... That was weird.
Mimic, can you say agronomy?
Agronomy.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Join us in celebrating your farm's...
Agronomy. Agronomy.
That sounds so weird to me.
Agronomy. Agronomy.
What did I say? Did I screw it up?
Agronomy. Agronomy.
I cannot say that word.
Agronomy is awesome. Agronomy.
Very good.
Agronomy. I knew it. I was like, here it comes.
One of the mistakes I see farmers make is restricting themselves to a specific RM range. I think that we really miss out on a lot of yield by not planting some of our really high quality full season hybrids.
Great advice there. That was a Mr. Boyer sighting there a few minutes ago, too, wasn't it? Welcome back to the final minutes of this year's Agronothon. Let's kick it over to the call center and see how it's going right now. We're looking for 15 more calls in, well, the last 15 minutes of this 2021 Agronothon. 15 calls. I know it's getting late. Some of you folks are staying up later than usual, but let's finish as strong as we possibly can. And that telephone number is still available. You can give them a call here in the final minutes of the show, 833. That's 1-833-305-1721. And then you press *3. with any question about agronomy. And we have a call coming in from Wisconsin right now for our experts. Mike, are you there with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having this evening.
Well, thank you for watching. What's your question?
Well, I want to no-till plant corn into bean stubble, which was conventionally tilled last year. What are a couple items that I need to be careful with doing this?
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. What's your thought on that, Wes and Josh?
Yeah, the first thing I think of when you say conventionally tilled, Mike, is you're going to really have to wait till conditions are good, because that ground is going to be quite a bit softer than, say, a no-till situation. So really be patient, be as patient as you can, but give it plenty of time before you get in that situation. And also, your herbicides, I definitely use 2, being that you don't have any residue there on the ground. It's going to be good planting conditions, but I'd overlap those herbicides as well at planting.
Very good. Here's another question that's come in to our program here. It's just from North Dakota. This is Alyssa. What product would you use to deal with Gauss's wilt? What product would do the best job of that, I think, is what Alyssa is asking.
I would recommend one of the disease shield products. We have, in our maturity group, we have several. They have been kind of pre-chosen, pre-selected to handle the 5 major corn diseases that we deal with. But I would look for anything, in your maturity range that has the disease shield package on it.
Very good. Well, we have time for one more game. Try to contain your excitement here, fellas. I know this is what you've been looking for. We've saved an interesting game here for the very end, and it's time to pit our friendly technical agronomists against each other in a showdown to determine agronomic supremacy. There's a big award for this, I'm sure. So it's time to play Turf Wars. We welcome back Wes and Josh for this, and let me tell you how this is going to operate. It's not too complicated. Yeah, get out your buzzer there, and I will ask a question. The first one to buzz gets to answer. If you get it wrong, the opponent can steal. It's real simple, and the technical agronomist with the most points at the end of the question and answer period wins. That unless we have a tie, and then if we have a tie, I'll have one more question to decide whoever comes closest to being our champion, and we'll take home an official Agronothon wearable goodie bag. I wonder if that means the goodie bag is wearable. I think what they mean is the goodie bag is filled with Agronothon wearables. All right, are you ready? All right, here we go. How much is the standard test weight per bushel for soybeans? Josh, I think you were first.
60 pounds.
60 pounds, you bet. Even I do that. Here's the second question. What's the group of pathogens responsible for the... Wes, do you know the answer? Did you ring too soon?
Maybe I did. I read it on the TV screen a little earlier here, and the group of pathogens, I'm guessing would be fungi.
Oh, fungi, there we go. All right, we'll give you the point for that. We're generous here. A harvest concern with regard to moldy corn seed is the potential presence of toxic levels with what? Josh.
Aflatoxin.
The bad A, aflatoxin, you bet. All right, what is the word for the broadcast application of dry urea fertilizer to an established field of tall fescue in early March? It is, Wes.
Top dress.
Top dress that, you betcha. Here's the next question. Where is most of the stored food energy used for germination in a corn seed located? It's in the... Josh.
In the endosperm.
In the endosperm, absolutely. Next question. The application of liquid nitrogen solution fertilizer by mixing it into the irrigation water is called what? Wes.
I think that was fertigation.
Fertigation it is. I don't know what our score is. We're running neck and neck here, I think. We'll have to have a ruling from, pardon me, 3-3 it is. All right. Seventh question. What part of the plant cell is where respiration occurs? Josh?
The mitochondria.
The mitochondria. You're right. Eighth question. How many pounds is the standard test weight per bushel for corn? Wes?
I think that one's 60, Max.
Bzz, bzz, bzz. Josh?
56.
56.
I had to let him take the lead.
Oh, yeah. You were feeling sorry for him, right? Next question. What is the standard seed count for soybean seed bags? This is tough. What is the standard seed count for soybean seed bags? Wes?
I think that one's 140. 140,000 to be exact.
All right, we'll count that, I believe.
knew what you meant on that.
140,000. Yes, we give that one to Wes. Are we getting down to the end here? I think this is the last question. Corn ear development is divided into 6 stages. There's R1 through R6. And the R3 stage is called the what stage? Wes?
Milk stage.
Oh, we got it, the milk stage. I haven't been able to keep score. Oh, we need the tiebreaker. It's 5-5. All right, let's see which of you can get closer to the correct. Wes, big sigh. Take a deep breath. Josh is taking all of the air out of the room here, I think. All right, here's the tiebreaker. The application of 1 acre-inch of irrigation water requires approximately how many gallons of water? Ooh, this is tough.
You want to go first?
We've got both of them here in a dead heat. This is it. This is it for all of the marbles. The correct answer. And Wes has pushed the button. The answer is?
About 27,000 gallons.
About 27,000 gallons, and you're right. Wes, you brought home the marbles.
I was the underdog for sure.
Well, I'm telling you, I worked up a sweat here in all of this. This was exciting stuff. Considering all of the questions that you two have already answered tonight, that was quite a battle, a fight to the finish. And for those of you who are still watching out there, we appreciate your joining us. Let's go back and grab some more questions that have come in here. We thank you who have been watching and calling in, and some other questions that have been submitted via the social media. John in Nebraska. If drought is prevalent, and boy, this is a timely question, as you watch that drought monitor map every week, and especially in the Dakotas, part of Nebraska to be sure, if drought is prevalent, when is it too late to apply water?
Well, it's, I don't know that it gets too late. I would apply as early as you can. I know, in different situations, different areas, you may be waiting on rainfall or reservoir to fill to be able to get water. I guess better late than never is a good term on that I'd like to use. If a crop receives 0 rain, obviously sometimes it just gets too late to produce. That can happen. That's the unfortunate side of the drought.
Yeah, right. And that part of the world very dependent upon irrigation water,
Absolutely.
of course. There's center pivots and other systems. Caden from Iowa, what's the best way to apply nitrogen in your opinion? Caden says, I live in northeastern Iowa. I'm just wondering what is the type of fertilizer that corn will use up best? Is it an H3, UAN, or urea?
That's a catch-22 question. There's lots of opinions on that. As far as my personal opinion goes, I'm a UAN fan. I like UAN because I think it's more readily available, less time to break down, and just quickness of use. We've got a lot of sprayers that can apply UAN very quickly and get the job done.
What about you, Josh? You in that camp also?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in my area, we're mostly, urea as a top dress or a pre-plant, and then we do use a good amount of liquid fertilizer too. And so we're kind of, I'm in both camps, I guess you'd say.
All right, very good. Here's a question from Glenn in Illinois. Does the optimal planting depth for corn change as the season progresses? Glenn says, I've always tried to adjust the depth as the soil dries out. But how deep is too deep?
I can see it changing depending upon, soil temperature, moisture level. Obviously, if it's a drier spring and you have to plant deeper to get in the moisture, that happens. We typically see, from my area, our best results in that 2-inch, sometimes even in the 2.5-inch depth. But that is definitely needs, can be adjusted depending upon your weather, your current conditions.
We have a call from South Dakota. Joining us here on the Agronothon. Fred, are you out there?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead with your question for Josh and Wes.
Okay, well, I might have two. My fun question is, how can farmers celebrate Earth Day? And And I have another question. I want to take off one crop of alfalfa and then put in some cover crops after that. So I'm wondering what kind of cover crops you might recommend and what might be the planting date for my cover crops.
Let's take that second question first, okay?
Yeah, I would say after going alfalfa, so you're looking at a broadleaf crop that's going to have a lot of biomass. I think the best thing for you to do is go to a grass species. So I would, focus on maybe wheat or oats, something of that nature, maybe even cereal rye.
And celebrating Earth Day, I suppose many growers would say we do it every day, 365 days of the year. The original environmentalist. I mean, it's not just a throwaway phrase. You think about how the growers that you work with and the families that you serve have done this so faithfully year after year.
Absolutely.
Well, over the past 2 hours, we've heard from so many of you, and we've helped raise a lot of money for the FFA Scholarship. Let's check in right now to see if we have a dollar total from all of the calls that have come in over the past 2 hours. It's coming up. Here it is. The tally, $10,000. $10,000 for the FFA. That is pretty cool. It's kind of nice to know we've been able to help in a small way for FFA scholarships. And of course, there is that opportunity for you to go ahead and continue to give. But from coast to coast over the past couple of hours, what a great job you've done of calling in to Josh and Wes, our agronomic experts. A big thanks to all of you. We have another question. And before we get out of here tonight, here's one from Indiana. Brooks. Brooks says, as a high school student in FFA, pursuing a career in agronomy, what does a day in the life of this career look like? I guess it's highly varied, isn't it? But Josh, what about you? How do you spend your day?
Some days it is a day sitting in front of a computer, crunching numbers, going through yield data analysis, stuff like that. But to me, the fun days are this time of year when we spend the bulk of the day outside. We are, planting our test plots, evaluating them throughout the year, phone calls back and forth where this is what I found, what are you seeing, sharing information with our peers, and then meeting with our customers, the growers, the retailers, all the people we work with on a daily basis. That's the fun part of my job.
Wes, what about yourself?
I agree with Josh wholeheartedly. We have to be a jack of all trades and really a master of none. We learn every day. So we're constantly in a learning state, and that's what we do from phone calls. And you better be prepared to talk on that phone, because that's probably one of our most important jobs is answering the phone.
Isn't it satisfying at the end of the year when you're visiting with those growers with whom you've worked during the season, and they're saying to you from the cab, "Oh, you've got to see this. You need to look at these numbers. This is what we've been able to do, this teamwork of working together." There's something pretty satisfying about that at the end of the day, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Aren't you glad you chose that career as an agronomist?
Man, yeah.
Well, we appreciate so much Wes and Josh, you being with us here, our team of technical agronomists on the broadcast this evening. We certainly appreciate all of our friends at the FFA. We thank you for your partnership. We're so proud to get to know the folks in the FFA organization a little bit better. Don't forget, you can contribute ffa.org/DEKALB. Thank you for joining us here on the broadcast this evening. We're sure appreciating it. You have a great evening and a great growing season ahead. So long, everyone.